Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. Today I'm joined by Kristen and Katie. Thank you so much both for being here. We've had a lot of fun over the recent months, had you all on our webinar, featured in a case study, and now our podcast. So I love all this momentum. Super excited to have you here. I'm going to start off with an intro from you both really quick. Maybe Katie, we can start off with you and then have Kristen follow up shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Katie. I'm the Director of Customer Experience at SuitShop. I have a background in retail management and retail sales, and which I did for about 8 years before using SuitShop for my wedding back in 2016. And when I heard they were hiring about a year later, I jumped on the chance to join. When I got my wedding party suited up, it was only our two co-founders in the company. So I knew that they were going to be really cool people to work for.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And I'm Kristen. I'm the Director of Marketing at SuitShop. And I have been working in D2C marketing for about 6 years. I started in like the paid media and email marketing side of things with an account management role at a SaaS tool before I went freelance and did that for a little bit and then started with SuitShop about 2.5 years ago. So I decided I really just wanted to focus on one brand. And now again, have been here for 2.5 years. I never really imagined myself honestly working with suits or weddings, but I honestly cannot imagine anything different at this point. And so I always like to throw in, at least while it's still relevant, that while Katie was one of the first SuitShop brides, I was one of the more recent, got married in October. So I think it's pretty cool that Katie and I both get to come at this with an experience as bride that's gone through the process of SuitShop, but we also both know all the internal workings of how things work for us. So yeah, that's us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that both you get to play or you've seen both sides because Kristen, I think when we had you on the webinar, when we were talking about it, it was, I think before maybe, no, not before. I think you were just coming off of your wedding because you said October, right? So
yeah.
I
think we're about to go on our honeymoon.
Yes. Yeah, that was it. About to go on your honeymoon. Yes. I was like, I know there's something around the wedding that you all were doing. And then Katie, I didn't know the story of you before working for SuitShop, were a bride, and then joined when they were hiring. So that's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
I've really seen the evolution of our company. Day one, pretty much.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. And so great that we get to have both of those perspectives, both as a consumer and obviously knowing the insides of the company. But before we dive into it, can you all describe what SuitShop is, just for our listeners, in case they're not familiar with the name? I don't know who wants to take it, but either one of you.
I can. SuitShop is a company that offers affordable and inclusive suiting to own. Our prices start at $199. We have quality suits for men, women, non-binary folks, kids. We're really trying to pioneer a new path in weddings, formal wear, and everyday suiting. We do have brick and mortar showrooms, even though we are mostly online based. But all of our, sizing tools and solutions are very tech driven, and we're trying to create just the best suiting experience we can.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. One of the things that we've discussed between the three of us before has been kind of this new space in the suiting industry. So I'm wondering if you all can describe kind of where SuitShop lies just in the industry. And then you kind of got into it a little bit just with the boilerplate of SuitShop, but thinking through, how you all are differentiating, how you all are making sure that the customer experience is delightful and different compared to others in the industry.
I wrote down a few notes on this one, but I really think that it's weird when we're in this place where so many things exist to think of ourselves in a category of our own, but in a way we actually really are, because it is true that you can find similar prices at potentially fast fashion or big box retailers, but you're really not going to find the experience and the size range that we offer. I see it in TikTok comments all the time where people are like, oh, go to ASOS. And they're like, yeah, ASOS doesn't work for me because I don't have the size ranges I need or something like that. So you might see it, some comparisons there. You could also compare us to the traditional rentals that people are using for weddings. but even that doesn't really work. I mean, obviously our price point is going to be kind of neck and neck with them. So it's the most closely related from a pricing perspective, but we're not a rental. Everybody gets to keep their suits and they're not hit with any fees amongst like all of the many other things and inconveniences that are associated with rentals. Katie previously did like a deep dive into this. And then I did one the other day, actually, just to kind of like see where things change. And it's crazy to think that if you're more than 3 days after your wedding not returning something, you can get hit with a fee from anywhere from $25 to $60. So then you're already spending more for your rental. So there's that. And then you can also compare us to some of like the made to measure brands. Won't name drop, but you know, people, they have showrooms in a lot of major cities. So people probably can figure out who I'm speaking about, but we're not made to measure and everything is at a fraction of the price. So we're still technically off the rack, but because of the size range that we continue to talk about, we're able to get as close to custom as possible with high quality materials. And so if somebody adds a few bucks, honestly, in alterations, pant alteration is typically around $15. A jacket could, you know, my husband, I think we do $45 for our jacket, but you know, you add anywhere from 15 to 70 bucks in alterations on top of the 199, and you're still getting a pretty much very close to custom suit for under $300, and you get that same look. So it's unbeatable. No one else is really doing it like us. We're able to provide that seamless experience completely online, but we've also taken it a step further by adding 5 showrooms in our high volume cities. So this allows us to give those customers that are in those cities that want to come in and see things in person, this really, they get to have this really unique experience that adds to their overall suit shop experience. But what's interesting is that we're not traditional retail in the sense that if someone comes to a showroom, they're not going to walk out with their product like they would if they were to go to a retail store. What's going to happen is we're still going to ship it direct to consumer, and having things like Malomo to talk about their shipping updates. And if they need to make returns and exchanges with the integration with Loop, et cetera, like all of those things are still very critical to even the people that come in person because of the fact that we still ship direct to consumer. So yeah, it's a little summary.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Katie, is there anything you would add before I pose my next question and dive in?
No, I think Kristen nailed all of the hot topics.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I think it's so fascinating. That's why I'm so excited to dive into the showrooms and the customer experience and all of that. And I was actually at a Cinco de Mayo celebration this past weekend, and one of my close friends is getting married, and he was talking about, you know, all the logistical side of the wedding, which I'm not married, so I haven't had the pleasure of seeing that firsthand. But he was talking about suits. So of course I had to be like, oh, have you heard of SuitShop? And he was like, actually, yeah, I have a suit from them. And he was like, oh my God, that reminds me, I need to go get it tailored because it's for like a wedding soon. I was like, yeah, definitely need to do that because the pants, like you need to hem. And he was like, that works out so well for me because usually I can't find, like usually the whatever suits I've had before, just the pant leg, it never is, you know, it never hits where it's supposed to hit. So he's like, usually I have to just undo the stitching or the hemming or whatever, and then fix it,
redo it
myself. Yeah. Which I think I've heard at least one other friend, in college, I think, speak to that. Cause he was like in his sister's wedding. And so, trying to, you know, it makes sense cause you're just kind of avoiding that hassle altogether. Right. Like of having to maybe guess whatever size is going to be right for you. And then the pant not be the length that you want it to be.
Yeah, I think that's great that your friend actually cares about that, because I've seen tons of wedding photos with pants that are way too long or a little bit too short, and it really truly makes a difference to have them tailored correctly.
And we didn't speak to this in the beginning, but for people who don't know, we were formerly named the groomsman suit, and the idea was literally born of this similar horror story from our co-founder Jean Foley's wedding. She had like her photos from her wedding, you know, they're beautiful photos, but we also can all laugh at the fact that like everybody's suit fits ridiculously because they got a rental that like they couldn't alter.
The grooms look good.
So it just
about
really
just him.
Yeah.
The groom
I was actually at a wedding this weekend as well, or on Cinco de Mayo, and there was a guy that my husband actually, he was wearing a tuxedo, our Navy tuxedo, and there was a guy talking, and he was like, yeah, I would never buy a tuxedo, it just doesn't make sense, it costs so much money. And my husband walked up to him, I actually walked into the conversation later and was like, wow, my husband's out here making friends, he's not like super social like that. So later he told me, he was like, well, I overheard this conversation, I had to let him know that my tuxedo was only $200. $5.
Oh, I love that.
You know, there are a lot of misconceptions, which I actually think segues really nicely into the next topic.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like, I think there are a lot of misconceptions that I know too with weddings. It's just crazy. I feel like it's crazy time in general for anyone who's involved or anyone who's planning, like, right. There's movies made off of it, everything. And so trying to think through how to ease some of those nerves and make the process really streamlined and easy, I think that's, like you said, really well into the next topic. So how are you all thinking about how you can ease those nerves, the customer experience, making sure that what you all are doing, you're trying to put, you know, take your experience from being in a wedding party and being brides yourselves, take that experience and rope it into the customer experience at SuitShop?
Yeah, I can start, and I think Katie has some points to cover here too. But like, I think what we were just talking about is it's super common for people to assume that suit shopping, especially online, has to be really hard. Or if they're doing it in person, it's going to be really awkward. There's in-person measurements. It's going to be time consuming because you have to go talk to somebody. It's understandable because a lot of the competition and like the people who really, you know, started this industry have operated this way and continue to message this way. Actually, a few of the competition that I was looking at the other day when I was doing a comparison doesn't even have online tools. Like, you have to go in person, and there are some of the most common names that you would recognize. So I think that one of the best things we could focus on is customer education from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom of the funnel and even post-purchase. So, and then with that, I think Katie has a little bit to add to those things.
Yeah, the goal is to make the process for our customers as easy as possible. So you truly never have to leave your house. You could take a quiz on our website that will let you know what size to take your suits delivered to your door. We just improved our fit guide and our size charts. So there's even more education on the website now about our fit and how to choose a size all on your own. But if you want to contact customer service, it's so easy to reach us: phone, chat, email, social media. That's all the ways you can reach us. It usually takes us about a minute and a half is our average to respond, and 6 minutes
so
to
long,
resolve a ticket.
Outrageous.
We're
outrageous.
on top of it, I promise. And if you're calling us, it'll be about a minute wait on the phone. So it's really important to us to have all of the tools for self-service, but also a staff that's super knowledgeable and can help you as well.
And then kind of bringing that back into marketing too, I think beyond what we do with customer service, there's a lot of retention marketing happening that starts kind of after the first or even second touch point. You know, if we have somebody's wedding date, which we do have a lead list that we get from a giveaway every month, and we have all of their wedding dates, if we attend events, whatever. But if we have these event dates, we actually have very custom flows throughout our marketing that are specific to people's wedding date and where they are in the wedding planning process. And for us, that is all about the education, not even just about suits, but about wedding planning in general. Like, how can we be a resource to them outside of just, you know, suiting and outfitting, which we get a lot of great response from. And a lot of these flows actually, you know, it goes beyond just the 12-month flow that I'm talking about, but anywhere from after their swatches are delivered, after the trials are delivered, the follow-up, you know, abandoned cart is really specific based off of other actions they've taken with us, again, with swatches, trials, etc. So they're so personalized that we actually have customers that believe that Katie is personally emailing them. Katie was like DMing me, we were laughing because she'll get on the phone and be like, "This is Katie." And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you emailed me." And she's like, "Yeah, okay." So, you know, by having these like really specific things that we're doing to educate and follow up with people to make sure they know what the next steps are, how to execute on those things on their own. It's really helpful. And then, you know, Malomo, I mean, we're on the Malomo podcast. We have to like plug it a little bit, but having that post-purchase like landing page for them to see and view kind of what are your next steps allows us to give them even more education so that they can feel empowered to self-serve if they need to get alterations or potentially make an exchange. So all those things are part of anything from that first touch point to even after they've made an order.
Yeah. I love that you brought up how detailed the flows are. And it's so interesting not being in the space myself, but from an outsider point of view of thinking through all the different communications that are going to happen over, like you said, maybe a year or a year and a half or however far away the event is. And I feel like that's one of the things that is more unique to your industry, specifically with bigger events in someone's life, because something that is maybe more of a CPG type of brand that you're not necessarily needing or having as much time between when someone is ordering or when someone is talking to your team and the actual event of when they're going to use the product. It has a lot of, it's kind of a beast to tackle, at least from what I would think of, like, how do you even approach trying to communicate with someone over 12 months, like all the little details, all the little things that they need to remember. But also, like, the other side of the coin to that is there's so much opportunity to be able to educate those customers, to be able to, personalize that experience as if Katie is emailing every customer personally. So I think it's one of those things that's, as I'm thinking through our typical, when we're talking about flows that we're emailing out, it's usually within, I feel like, average time period of maybe 2 weeks, and from, purchase to product. And that's on the longer side as well. So it's just, it's so fascinating to dive into. And it reminds me of, we just had Happiest Baby, which they have the snoo. I don't know if you two have heard of them. Yeah. But yeah,
we're well versed.
Okay, cool. Just had her on, Lexi, and she was talking just about how they try and plan, like, for the date as well that the baby is going to arrive. And it's,
when you have a date, it's so
exactly
easy to
you can
be
walk
ahead
back.
of it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my God, these conversations are mirroring each other, which is always so fun.
I also want to add, though, even if you're not planning your wedding 12 months in advance, we get a lot of those 2 months ahead calls. Am I too late for this? And we're like, nope, not even close. You can order week of if you really have to, but please don't wait that long.
I think to, like, add to that from, like, what does the life cycle look like? Sure, we have people who know their wedding date a year out, or maybe even 2 years out or whatever. But to give, like, a summarized version, we recommend that a couple starts considering, like, what brand are you going to go with? Let's say they choose SuitShop about 6 months out, and then they probably want to, like, maybe set up their group and really start sending out communications around 3 months out to give people kind of the idea of, like, where are we shopping? What are we getting? How much is it going to cost? Things like that. So then by week 6, when you're 6 weeks out from your wedding date, everybody's started to place their order. We have plenty of time to potentially make exchanges if that's needed, or for them to, drag their feet on getting alterations. For example, my husband, we went to the alterations or the seamstress literally on Tuesday for the Friday wedding that I had last week. So, we give people plenty of time so that they're not doing that rush stuff. But to Katie's point, I also have an influencer who got engaged last weekend, and they're having a very short engagement. They're getting married next month. So, I'm currently talking to them about, like, let's get your group set up as soon as possible, because we need to, like, do those orders, like, tomorrow. So, so, we definitely still have those capabilities. Whereas if you, just to tie back in some of the rental experience or even some competitor experience, if you're getting made to measure, technically, or you're definitely going to be like 6+ weeks, timeline. If you're getting a rental, depends on who you're shopping with, but most of them will deliver 2 weeks before your event date. And if you don't respond within 48 hours, you're charged a $50 rush fee to now rush your shipping. Our rush shipping, like, maxes out around $20 to $30. Just, it depends on where you live, so it can vary, but we're not charging fees for that. It's just you're paying shipping. And then the other side of it is if you're working with someone in person, you pick it up the day before, which is so scary. But so, I mean, our path to purchase is very different than most brands that you're probably talking to, other than, when we're looking at the snoo product. But most, I think, especially CPG, you can see an ad and then get someone to check out at the same time if the ad is good enough. Versus us, people got to do the research, maybe order trial, and, like, go through this whole funneled system before they can really make a purchase decision and repurchase decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a bigger not association. There's a bigger period, I guess, of research that you have to go through, because it is a bigger purchase in the perspective of normal, like, D2C CPG type brands. But then in the industry itself, it's on the, it's way more affordable than some of the other choices on the market. And I love that you also brought up, you can still get the closer wedding dates that you all work with. So, and what came to mind was, so the emails, if you have a cadence for, say, do you have like different cadences for 12 months out of the wedding date and 6 months out? Like, is it the same
They'll enter into the
content?
same flow, but it's based off of their date. So like if they enter in at 6 months, they'll just start at the 6-month email.
Okay.
Like I planned my wedding at 4 months and I obviously was subscribed. So like I got, oh, you're 4 months out. Oh, you're 3 months out. Oh, you're 2 weeks out. Like, went through the whole thing. So it'll just be more catered to like where you should be in that moment of your planning. Obviously if they're entering our funnel at 3 months out, our messaging at 3 months out is probably not like register your group, at that point. If they've entered our funnel at that point, I'm assuming that they're already kind of like a little bit deeper into the funnel in terms of purchasing. So they're probably going to get more catered messaging around their group, around their trial, like wherever they are in that purchase decision. And then that flow is just going to pick up wherever they're at in their wedding planning like stage. So, around 3 months out, I think we refer a brand that we work with called Confetti. It's like a SaaS tool for weddings to collect photos from everybody and message people, etc. So, they might get something around that time where 2 months out, it might be like, don't forget about your dads or your moms or other people that may need suits. And then maybe when they're 2 weeks out, it might be like last minute gifts and then following their wedding date, they're going to get that like, congrats, we're so excited for you. So we do have people, every once in a while that unfortunately either move or cancel their wedding that we need to like remove them from these flows to like, add to the heartbreak. But for the most part, they're just going to enter where they are in their flow.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly the question I was asking. Thank you. I know we've been talking about how the marketing experience and all the communication that is being sent to SuitShop customers helps in that customer experience, helps educate them. And so I also want to talk about another piece that we briefly touched upon in the beginning of this episode, which is your showrooms, and talking about how that experience in person that someone can have is aiding in that customer experience. And then how that also transfers into, your learnings in the D2C realm. So I don't know who wants to kind of dive into the showrooms, but I'd love to share more about just the thought process behind it, how it's helping you all.
Mm-hmm. Sure. The showrooms, I'd say, only add to the experience that SuitShop offers. We've worked with an expert design team to try to create a really fun and welcoming environment, not necessarily what you think of when you think of walking into like a stuffy suit store. We really want it to be attractive. We've got disco balls, checkered floors. You can get drinks there. We try to make it as fun as the bride and bridesmaids get, when they go and have champagne and do that whole shopping experience. And we're welcoming to anyone. So you're not going to walk into the store and only see men's suiting. You can walk in if you're a woman or identify as non-binary, and you'll still feel welcome. We're really able to fill up appointments because a lot of times maybe the engaged couple doesn't live near one of our showrooms, but someone in their wedding party does. Or we're working with a wedding planner who lives near one of our showrooms. So she sends all of her couples in to see us. Really, word of mouth in the showroom cities grows very rapidly. And we see a significant increase every time that we open a new space.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's so fascinating and thinking through I don't know if you two grew up on this, but like say yes to the dress. Like that's the epitome.
Bridals by Lori is an Atlanta staple. So
yeah. Just like HGTV in general, I feel like I was always watching with my mom. But like that's what I'm thinking through of, you have this experience and it's part of the fun, right? Of like having this wedding. There's just all these different types of experiences that you might have one time or multiple times in your life. And so for you all to have showrooms that a customer could walk in and interact with your team and interact with the materials and the fabrics and see how it fits on them. Like I personally am not much of an online apparel shopper just because I know I like to be in person when I can, or if I already have something, then, that's obviously a way easier purchase. But to see something in person and try it on, like I've always valued that experience. So I think it's great that you're offering that option to people who want it. And like you said, if they have their parent or someone or, friend in a city, then they can go and check it out and kind of relay, and then word of mouth marketing, share their findings with their customer if someone wants to have that in-person experience.
Yeah. And I think to your point, it just caters to the two different types of shoppers that we're going to interact with as an online brand. And, there are plenty of people who like don't want to ever talk to a human. Like they will do anything that they can to not talk to a human, which is like why we have all these resources and tools available on our website, so that if we have that person, which is a lot of people actually, they can self-serve, to a certain point. Honestly, they can get through the whole flow, but if they want help, the help is available to them. But then you have this other side of things, like someone like you who maybe wants to plan a trip to our showroom and feel it in person, see it in person, and have the experience of just getting to try it all on. Especially, we have people sometimes that might want to order multiple sizes and try it on and deal with exchanges. But if they get to go in person, we're really eliminating that risk of even needing an exchange or return. Like we're going to have a 100% satisfaction at that point, because they've tried everything on, they know exactly what fits for their body type. And then, when they place that order, now they're very secure in what they've placed. Online, we've made it to a point where I think our exchanges are under 15%, our returns are under 15%. But with that being said, there's still room for error. Like there's always going to be room for error, even if we provide all the tools. So like having that in person kind of allows them to have that 100% like guarantee that nothing, like they don't need exchange. They don't have to go through that. But we do our best to provide all the tools to really limit the need for anybody to need to make those exchanges and returns, so that they feel confident online as well. So,
yeah, I think also one of the things that, as we three have all chatted before about the showrooms, is that it allows you all to cater to groups too, which I think is super interesting. So can we talk about that just a little bit? Like that appeal of the showroom?
Yeah, I think that's really having the experience. You can find a date for all 10 people in your wedding party to come in together. For example, our showroom in Chicago is across the street from a really fun bar. And a lot of times they'll make a whole day out of it, or it's part of the bachelor weekend or something like that. And that's always fun for our team as well, to do an entire group. It just really lifts your spirits when everyone is enjoying themselves.
Yeah. And this is just like a small plug, but, having the showrooms and like the group experience in general also opens up us for more opportunities. So, season 2, Love is Blind Chicago. If you happen to be watching, you'll see our showrooms where we had all of the Love is Blind people, or I don't want to call them contestants, but like, the people on Love is Blind, all the different couples or guys, they
the
came
Love is
in,
Blinders.
Yeah. The Love is Blinders. The pod squad is what I've heard. My friends call themselves, but, we had them in the recording, the cast and crew. We're coming up on another reality show. I heard Love is Blind is also filming in Denver, so hopefully we'll get to work with them again. But having these showrooms really does allow us to create this fun experience where like TV shows want to come in and like, shop with us, because we do have this fun showroom, and they are going to have this like in-person experience where they can have drinks and everybody tries on. And again, it goes back to what we were just talking about, where when you have 10 people, and let's say if our error is around 15%, let's say from like our fit finder is 85% accurate this time, it only gets better every day. But like if there's 15% error, and then you have 10 people, like there's a chance that like one of those people is probably going to have to make the exchanges, versus if you got 10 people that can come into the showroom, like everyone like is going to just walk out with everything they need. So, or walk out with the sizes and it'll be shipped to their house, and they get to go do the rest of the party stuff and not have to carry everything around. So
that's a great point. Oh yeah. I didn't think about that. Cause just so for listeners are super clear, in the showroom, you don't walk out with a suit. You order online.
We can place the orders in the showroom. They don't have to like go place the order themselves when they leave, but yes, they don't walk away with product. They can walk out hands-free and go enjoy the rest of their day and have a bachelor party, whatever.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah. I didn't even think about having to have like a shopping bag walking around,
Yep.
and that potential annoyance. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I love also, I didn't know, Love is Blind. I've heard great things. I haven't been able to watch. I have so many shows.
Depends on what you like.
I literally, yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a couple of friends who just like reality TV shows. I mean, we have Bachelorette watches, but we never actually watch the thing. It's just an excuse for us to all get together on a Monday night.
Drink
But
some
that's
wine, have
besides the
some
point.
charcuterie.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. You know the type. Yeah. We all bake for it. It's a whole thing. But no, that's awesome to see. And that emphasizes the point of having an experience that is entertaining, because quite literally TV shows want to come into the showroom, and they do that because they think it's entertaining for viewers. So I can only imagine the experience if you're going through it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So we've touched upon it a little bit, and you were talking about just returns and the potential for returns. So I think that fits really nicely to talk about your new fit guide and kind of the inspiration behind it. Just tell us about it. Tell us what that, means for a customer, what it means for you all as a company. Cause it's, I think, some very exciting stuff.
Yes, we are super excited about it. It's been on the wish list or to-do list for literally years to improve this.
Relatable, by the way.
This amazing fit guide. Our co-founder, Jean Foley, she's the one who designs all of our products. So she's really like listed out everything you could possibly want to know about our product. And then we've worked really hard to make it user-friendly, and we want all of the tools to be reachable. So whereas before you had to go on a couple different pages to find, the size chart or a fit finder, everything now is all on one page, and it's all linked from every product page that we have. So the likelihood of hitting this new fit guide is almost 100%, which is super exciting for the team that worked so hard to create it. We really want that self-service experience to feel empowering. And so the customer is like, oh yes, I feel confident about this. I've researched, I've done my homework. And I also know if I didn't get it quite right, the return process and exchange process is super simple with us.
And like, just for perspective for people who don't know suiting, I was just watching a TikTok video about it because I was planning some content, but like I saw a girl who was like, this is the suit in the slim fit. Hopefully all of our guys are going to get the slim fit. And like, people don't realize when they see slim fit, especially on our website, that doesn't work for every body type. So having a fit guide like what we've developed is super important to explaining to people that difference between what is the difference between a slim and a modern fit. It's not necessarily about how the overall look is going to be at the end of the day. It's more about how your body is shaped. And at the end of the day, we're still going to give you that nice fitted, like very clean look that is going to look incredible, but it's all about your body type, because somebody who has like thick legs and a caboose are not going to be the same as someone who has like this broad shoulder, slim waist, like straight legs. Like they're not going to need the same fit types. And so that page, I think, really also helps combat some of those things that they're like the misconceptions of what are the fit types and what is it supposed to look like. So didn't have that as like a note, but it just like came to mind because I was watching that TikTok this morning and I was like, no, you don't want everybody to slim fit.
So true. Yeah. Constantly telling people, do not tell your groomsmen what to order. They will appreciate it if you don't.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a great point too. And one of the things that, like you said, it's one of those points that you only think of when you see it and you're like, oh, wait, that's a good point to make, because yeah, I feel like there's just so many different things. And one of the things that I think about with suiting is like, I mean, it's one of those things that I'm going to take out a measuring tape and like make sure I actually look at the fit guide, and if the brand has a fit guide, but make sure that like I'm taking my measurements the right way and trying to do my due diligence and making sure that it's going to fit. Cause something like a suit, or I also like also bathing suits come to mind, where it's like, you want to make sure that that fit is correct. And because it's one of those moments that, like you want to feel confident in your own body, right? So like whatever you're shopping for, you want to be able to have, like you said, all the tools that you possibly can to make the best decision to try and prevent, returns or exchanges, which I know if and when that happens, obviously easier with the experience you all have you all have out for your customers. And one of the things that I think is super interesting about the fit guide is like sizing accuracy and trying to make sure that, you know, you're giving the best information possible to your customers so that they can make the most informed decision. So we didn't talk about this before, but I'm curious if either of you know, like, how do you, because I know in apparel, it's like there's industry averages and then like each product is different. So how are you trying to find the like best information, the best sizing information possible to share in that fit guide?
I think a lot of it has come from researching other brands and seeing what is out there and what is lacking in the customer experience. But most of it has come truly from interacting with customers and the questions that they have asked us that we didn't necessarily think someone needed to know the thigh measurement of the pants. But if you're a bodybuilder and you work out, that might be your hardest aspect of buying clothing. So I think a lot of it came from the customers and then just wanting to be more informative than maybe our competitors.
Yeah, I think I personally, like, if you go look at any of our competition, if you just Google fit guide for, like, you're not even Googling necessarily suiting, there is like a huge lack of knowledge in this space. And when we think about how different every body is, especially like for me, I'm a mid-sized person and I can literally range from a small to an extra large, depending on the brand. It makes no sense. I can be a 6, but I can also be a 12. So it's, to me, I think that I fit somebody who really needs this type of tool. And we have a lot of customers like that because of the type of people we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So really thinking about what questions they're asking, like, what is the fit like? What is my body type like compared to the way that this cut is, this fabric is cut, and being able to see those things. Again, it all comes from a lot of consumer feedback that we've just received over the years, and, questions that are like very redundant. We can put them in the FAQs, but if it's right in your face on the fit guide and that's on every single product page that you're accessing this, it helps. I would like to think that over time we'll be able to look back and see a reduction in certain macros that the team is using, or a reduction in outreach in general. So for these types of questions, but this is still pretty fairly newly launched page that it's really hard to say like what impact is it having so far. I definitely think I've already gotten really great feedback from just peers, and I'm not sure if Katie has anything to add from our customers, but it will probably be time before we get to see like what is that direct impact. But one of the top searched things that we see in our industry is people trying to compare that modern fit and a slim fit. Like, what is the difference and how do you have those things? So another benefit to this page is it's loaded with keywords and search terms about what are these, like, what is the comparison? So it has its pros outside of just customer service as well. So hopefully we'll drive some new people to our website that way too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very smart. Katie, have you seen anything on the any customer feedback? I know it was
Definitely,
just launched.
I've had phone calls where the person has clearly been to the fit guide because of the language that they're using with me, that I'm like, oh, I know you've read something on our website. You didn't just come up with that term on your own, which is fabulous. And usually it's someone that's narrowed it down to like, I think I'm between these 2 sizes. What do you think I should get? And that's huge that they've been able to narrow it down to just 2 options. That's a win in itself. I know that I shared our fit guide on LinkedIn and one of my friends commented, like, can you please share this with every brand I shop?
Yes. It's lacking. I'm not joking. Like, literally Google fit guide and just see what people offer. Like, there are some brands that I think do a good job. A really large retailer that comes to mind when we were researching is Loft. I think Loft does a really great job with the different sizes they have because they offer petite and, plus. So they do a really great job. But most brands, especially smaller D2C brands that are in the similar categories as us, are really, really lacking in this space. So it's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, I'll double tap that. I always love a fit guide. So
double tap.
Yeah. I also think this fits really well to talk about the unisex fit, because as we're talking about the modern and the slim fit, I could see the, just from a consumer wanting to know all the differences and whatnot, and that you all have done such a great job to distinguish the differences between the two of them. And I know the unisex fit, it's currently up online, but is there more that's being done with it? Is that correct? Or is it a newer launch?
Yes, it is on our website currently as coming soon.
That's it.
We
Yes.
have outfitted a lot of customers in the fit already, and it is already part of our special order process. So yes, right now anyone can order that fit. So far feedback has been great. You know, there's so many customers that don't identify with or fit into like a men's or women's collection. And this really is like that perfect in between option that I think it just doesn't exist really anywhere else.
Yeah. When we talk about it internally, it really is unisex. Like it can fit on someone who identifies as male, female, non-binary. But when we look at who's feeling the best, or like the audience that's leaning towards it the most, is it's either someone who is a woman, identifies as a woman, and just like wants more masculine cut, but doesn't want to be swallowed by a men's fit. There's so many experiences out there. You can probably look it up on TikTok that have nothing to do with us, where someone's like, oh, my whole life I've had to go into menswear stores and shop men's products. And then, you know, there's huge shoulders. It doesn't fit my waist. It's just swallowing me, which is something that we heard over and over again, which is what led the original women's line to be fit. But then, you know, again, you have these people, the other people that I'm speaking to specifically are people who were assigned female at birth, but probably identify as non-binary or as a man, who really do want that more masculine look that's not fitting straight to their curves like our women's fit. But again, isn't going to swallow the frame that they were born with. So I think it's really to allow, it's more of an extension of our women's line in a sense, because it is going to fit a smaller frame person a little bit better. But ultimately at the end of the day, it can go both ways, and it's just providing more options for people to feel truly themselves whenever they put the suit on. They're not feeling like, oh, I have to wear a men's suit to get this masculine look, or, oh, I'm a woman, so I must wear the women's suit that's going to give me all these curves that I don't necessarily want to show off. Or again, if you're like a small, like we have some small frame models that we used for it, where it gives them a really nice shape, and it's not necessarily, it's giving them more of that. It kind of reminds me of like, if you were to order a wide leg pant, like, you know, it's not going to be something that's like straight, like tied to your body, like
skinny
so tightly.
jeans. Yep.
It's going to give you more of that, like, you know, more comfortable fit, honestly. So it kind of reminds me of that, and what people did whenever we went from the straight leg pant to like the flare pant or the wide leg pant. So
yes. Yeah. Which I also double tap that. I love a good flare pant or wide leg pant. But yeah, I think
flare jeans on right now.
Oh, there you go.
Hey.
Yeah, I feel like I don't wear skinny jeans anymore, which I hope that does not come back. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of, what's the saying? I feel like I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, instead of the clothes wearing you wear the clothes, right? Like, it's just something, it's like another way to make sure that you're meeting the customer where they want to be, and whatever choice that they want to make, you're giving them as many options as you possibly can. And I very much respect it, just from a personal and a professional lens, of being able to have different options for whoever is shopping with you all. I hope that, as well as the fit guide, is something that other brands take into consideration of trying to expand their product line to make sure that they're catering to any and all audiences possible.
I want to mention something about what you just said too, because we do talk about this a lot, especially with like our PR team, of like, when SuitShop develops something, because we're so fortunate to have Jade as our co-founder and technical designer, that all of our sizes that we have, they have their own grading for each size. So each size has its own cut. It's not like we just took the 10 and then we were like, okay, add a few inches and now it's 12. Or, you know, if we're talking men's 40, 42, you know, these are individually graded cuts for each garment size. So that's something that in fashion, in the fashion industry, is not very common, especially with like a smaller brand, or when you're buying off the rack suiting specifically. So that's a huge thing. And I do feel like SuitShop, obviously am incredibly biased, but that we do pay attention to those little things, and we are meeting our customers where they are. We wouldn't have made the women's line or the unisex line if we weren't getting that feedback. Like those are things that we hear. Same with our like it goes the same way in our marketing. One of our first like big branded photo shoots that was so much money, we got a lot of people that were like, oh, all these models are like models. They're skinny. They're not a normal person. They are, I don't want to call them non-normal person. They're people too, but like,
but they fit the model standards.
I can't relate to them. Like that's not the average person, so we got that feedback. Or, so then, the next shoot that we did more of a wedding theme, but we also did some mix and match with like everyday suiting that wasn't so wedding or so special event. And then the following shoot that we finally got to do, we tried to include as many diverse models as possible, which are featured a lot on our fit guide, where we have plus models, we have petite models, we have more muscular men and taller men versus just like the standard 42 like slim fit guy. And then we have a non-binary model. So we really wanted to find that representation, and all of that came from feedback that we were consistently getting. We are constantly trying to achieve what our customers want. But if there are consumers that are listening, or even if you're a brand that also happens to consume, I think what's something important to note is that these things take time, planning, and money. And some brands maybe are fortunate enough to have VC funding and unlimited opportunity to do these things as soon as someone asks them. But for a brand like us, it takes us a lot of time to do those things. So sometimes just because you don't see something doesn't mean that it's not heard. It just means that it's probably in process or in progress, and that things are coming. And so I think SuitShop does a really great job of hearing what people say and meeting them where they are and giving them what they want. So, but again, biased.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Katie, were you going to add something? I saw you for a second.
No, I was just thinking like, yes, the women's line took years to make. And I remember being there. And when I first started, we had a line that we created, and Jean just was not satisfied with it enough. And it took 2 additional years for us to finally launch it on our website. So what Kristen said about each size being, unique, that is truly part of what takes us so long, because we want to make sure it's perfect as can be.
Yeah. My TikTok must be so well tailored to me, because I literally had a video yesterday talking about how just with sizing, usually it's just like, especially in fast fashion, but like you just take the smallest size and then just like upgrade. And the fit, you lose the integrity of the fit as you go along, because it's just, you don't have the same amount of fabric. You need more fabric to cover different areas or just different fits and different body types. So I love that you brought up that point, Kristen, and that you echoed it, Katie, that you have the unique sizes, and you're looking at a one by one basis, instead of just manufacturing based off of one model and then just adding X amount of inches of fabric.
So much, like Jean sends out so many samples when like a new size or fit is developed. Like, obviously we send them out internally in the team first, make this like slight adjustments that she needs here and there. But then like before we launch it on our site, if a customer needs it or reaches out to us, like specifically, what's coming to mind for me is our women's 20 to like 24 sizes. Anytime someone would comment, like, I don't see my size on your website, or we would even get like, inclusive Instagram, influencers who are like, this brand is actually not inclusive. They say everybody, but they don't go up that high. And it's like, we do go up that high. You just have to DM us because we're like trying to work on it. So like when people reach out to us and they have those concerns, we're able to then send them the samples and work with them to like really make sure that the size grading is right. And that we didn't just say, oh, we'll just add a couple inches everywhere. And some people will come to us and be like, why does this size jump from this many inches to this many inches? And it's because in order for it to like work the right way, and with people's body shapes, when they typically jump from this size to this size, it makes a difference. So, and people don't really understand that. So I do think it's important to mention, like, that is part of the customer experience for us to actually go through and develop products that are going to fit people, and not just, increase some inches here and there to grade up from that original size. So anyway, tangent.
No, I love the tangents are some of the best stuff, I also think we've been talking about a lot about the customer experience just in general and whatnot. And I know you gave us a little bit of a shout out with Malomo earlier, but I do want to talk about maybe for the last couple minutes, just the post-purchase experience in general and the importance there as we round out the episode. Because I think we've really highlighted what you all are doing, what considerations you're making to make sure that while someone is either placing an order or about to place an order, shopping with you all, you're trying to make the best decisions possible for your customers. So I love to also provide some insight into the back end on how you're making sure you continue to do that after someone purchases with you.
We sell a product that really requires education, and maybe it's not just on how it fits or what size you should buy, but it's also like how much of your dress shirt should be showing for like a new modern look, or what side of the lapel you're supposed to button your boot or pin your boutonniere on. It's just different than buying like a t-shirt or a pair of jeans. There's like rules to suiting and things that you want to keep in mind. So I think having all of that education after they purchase is really beneficial for them, like with information they'll probably use for the rest of their lives. I think that's really something that will have them coming back to us again, because we've taught them like, okay, this is how your suit should fit, and this is how you should wear it. And they feel confident that we actually maybe know what we're doing a little bit more than just like selling, the suiting products that we offer.
Yeah. And I mean, Malomo obviously plays a big part in that for us, because as soon as they place the order, we're hitting them with all of the information they need. But we do that in other places as well, where, if someone orders specifically a swatch or specifically a trial, but they haven't ordered a swatch before, if they've ordered a trial and they've ordered a swatch and they've never ordered a trial, and then they've abandoned a cart, or whatever, those are still post-purchase experiences. They're just, the purchase is just slightly different. Like technically the trial and the swatches are free, but we still need to educate them at those steps of like, what is the next step after that? We kind of talked about that earlier too. So, I mean, I don't want to dive into it too much, but really the post-purchase experience to us is, I would say, just as equally as important as some of those like pre-purchase experiences, so that they do feel confident when their suit arrives to them, and they do feel confident when they get the alterations. And like Katie mentioned, those moments are what keep them coming back to us. We're not a CPG product. Like they're in a lot of cases, people don't think they're going to need multiple suits in their life of multiple different colors, and which is why people might lean towards rental. So once they realize that they can get this suit for the same price, have this incredible experience, not need to make a ton of exchanges and returns, and it fits them really great because we've given them that education, that's what gets our customers to go tell all their engaged friends, anyone that they know that has to go to an event or a wedding. That is our retention, our return customer. It is that word of mouth, and that all just circles back to, what is that experience like from the first touch point all the way to post-purchase.
I mean, we see again and again that a groomsman in a wedding becomes the groom in the next wedding. And it's just like a cycle that continues to repeat, which is amazing.
We've had people, I think, that have been like their suit that they get for their wedding is like their fifth SuitShop suit, or like their fifth SuitShop experience. Like it's 27 dresses, but
like, well, I don't have this color, so this is what we're doing for my wedding.
Yeah, you need all the colors, all the fits, all everything. No, I think that's a great point. And one of the things that I love that you pointed out, Katie, is that the education will stay with them for a while.
Yeah.
And like that, it's like kind of like best practices, right? Like you're thinking through how to wear your suit. Yes. Like all of those things, how to get it tailored, all the things that are specific to their SuitShop suit. But then you're also going that extra mile and saying like, okay, this is how you wear your dress shirt for this look, and all that extra stuff that maybe you wouldn't consider unless it's kind of like right in front of you. You're like, oh, I didn't even think I had to consider that. And now, look at this SuitShop team who is gracefully telling me, oh, you can wear it this certain way to achieve this certain look if you're in the market for that kind of thing. And one of the things I know that we've also discussed as a group has been how those proactive messages and how that proactive educational content can help mitigate support and a customer feeling like they have to reach out to Katie, your team specifically, to have one-on-one contact details. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I think that's also something that is super helpful to consider for brands, where it's like, that also helps mitigate concerns on both ends. It's not just one party or the other.
Yeah. And it's truly based on what our most frequently asked questions are. So we're trying to answer them for you before you even have the chance to reach out to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know this has been, I feel like the conversation's been so quick moving. It's like crazy that the hour has flown by, but thank you so much for taking the time to join both Katie and Kristen. It is an absolute delight whenever I get to talk to you both. And I think our listeners are very, very, very excited to have such great experts in the field and be able to tune into the conversation.
Thank you so much for always supporting us.
Yeah.
You guys.
I got you. Don't you worry.